Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 341, and today we're going to be doing battle in the April Mastering Runeterra Open. And so, Mastering Runeterra, they're back to putting on their monthly event, the $20 open tournament with the minimum prize pool of $1,000, should be kicking off the weekend before the Riot in-client monthly open tournament. And so I know saying open for all the tournaments is a little bit confusing, but the Mastering Runeterra one happens the weekend before the Riot one. And so all of these are going to be the standard best of three format. And I'm pretty happy with our lineup that we're bringing here. If you've been following along as our Ruthless Rumbles have been happening, this is the same lineup with some deck edits that we played in the previous video. And so the idea with the lineup has a couple of pillars to it. First and foremost, I want to be good against Samira Fizz, and I want to be good against Karma Set. Those are kind of at opposite end of the spectrums as far as what decks do. Karma Set just being a highly interactive control deck. Samira Fizz is kind of a LOL non-interactive combo deck, but you can't always be good against two decks like this, but our lineup here is good against those today. And so against the Samira Fizz deck, we should be roughly a 55% favorite with our decks, and then against the Karma Set, it's not great. It's only like 51, 52. If you're well versed with the deck, I'd argue that it's probably pretty even, but I want to be able to tackle those decks because I expect them to be pretty common throughout the day. Especially in terms of Karma Set. I think as people in these kind of events really enjoy playing control decks, I think we'll see a lot of slower control-y kind of lineups, and I think that Karma Set is going to be a major part of that. And so all of our decks can handle that. Part two is we need to kind of like think of how the removal is going to look in this format. And so we've started to kind of shy away from the lands of Samira Fizz. The deck isn't as nearly as popular as it used to be, but that really kind of defined how the format was going to start and how things were going to push on. And what you see from that is this real prevalence of 2 damage based removal. And so a lot of heavy metals, a lot of mystic shots, a lot of high notes, and then AoE cards kind of like Make It Rain or Caustic Rift being more popular. And so our way to kind of combat that is going to be, with bigger units. And so we're playing a lot of 4 health units. You'll see Badger Bears kind of across the board in these decks. You'll see the Sunburst units that have a lot of high health. We're looking to say, okay, if you want to play removal spells onto our units, you're going to have to play 2 removal spells to kill a unit. And so that is where we're trying to position ourselves here as, if you're wanting to be good against Karma Set, you need your units to have 4 health. You can survive a Mystic Shot. You can survive an Aftershock. You can sit in front of a 3/3 that puts a coin in your hand. Require the opponent to use a second card to clear that unit out. But where this deck starts to fail, and what gives me a little bit of worry, is if you look at a deck, say like Heimerdinger Jace, as to where they're going to have some combination of Hex Obliterators, Vengeances, Piercing Darknesses. Once the decks start to move towards those bigger removal spells, that is where our deck is going to struggle, as we're trying to play kind of on-curve, big guy plan. That's the direct counter to it, is having those really exceptional removal spells. And so that is my main concern here. We're looking to be good against the damage-based removal, probably bad against the vengeance-based removal, and we're going to keep that in mind as the pick and bans roll out. Last thing I want to talk about before we pull up the deck lists is the now prevalence of Ashe LeBlanc. Ashe LeBlanc is a terrible matchup for the entirety of our decks. That's going to be our #1 ban across the day. I'm hoping it just doesn't turn up in large numbers. I kind of feel like psychologically the kind of people that want to be playing Karma Set aren't really that excited to be playing these just big meaty units that you see out of the likes of Ashe LeBlanc. And so I'm hoping there isn't a great amount of overlap between the people bringing 3 control decks and the people bringing 3 good decks lineups. But Ashe LeBlanc is a must ban for us. It is absolutely miserable. It's a 75% favorite over some of our decks. And so that's how we've planned to deal with it. Just ban it. I have no desire to deal with that one today. And so to talk about our individual decks just a little bit, first and foremost, we have Jarvan Udyr. We've been playing this in all of our videos. I absolutely love this. I think this is one of the best decks in the format that absolutely no one plays, and I'm quite happy to be bringing it today. Again, it has a lot of those elements that we're looking for, has a high interactivity suite with the challengers between all of the various birds, has a lot of high health units in it, with the Badger Bears, the Petricite Chargers, the likes of Udyr, Jarvan, Combat Cook, all of these units more than capable of feasting on 2 removal spells, if you will. And then it has that overwhelm, elusive rally aspect of these formats that we need, to where we have the Tiana providing rallies, we have Udyr providing overwhelms, and the King Jarvan giving us kind of sort of a little bit rallies in terms of putting Scout on all of our units. Quite happy with this deck, highly recommend it. Up next, we have Vayne, Quinn, Aatrox. This is the Broken Ball list out of the AGS Open event. All I have to say with this one is it still carries on that same aspect that we're looking for. It's highly combat interactive with all the challengers between Fleet Feather Tracker, blocking Badger Bear, blinding Assault, and the Quinn generating Quinn Birds. We have a lot of ways to get those early game challengers down. It has a lot of interactive elements to it with all the removal spells you get with the like the Fish Fight and Cataclysm and Condemn. And then it still has that big unit aspect that we're looking towards, as to where we have Badger Bears and Blood Cursed Harpies, Combat Cook. All of these units have 4 health plus and are able to soak up a lot of removal spells. And so the gameplay between Jarvan, Udyr, and Vayne, Aatrox is quite different. Both of the decks play, and their play patterns quite different. They aren't very similar outside of these aspects, but it does check all of the boxes that I'm looking for in terms of what the deck can do. Last but not least, we are playing with Sunburn, the Samira Leona. Our deck, of course, looks a little bit different than what you're going to see if you go and just pull off the decks off the top of the meta. Again, this has a lot of the elements that I like. It has a lot of really meaty style units to it. It has a lot of ways to get some exceptionally good combats. But what you don't see out of a lot of the decks or I should say, what you see out of a lot of the ladder-based decks they are really focused in on might. And I think that is a fairly big mistake. I think might is too brittle, especially in the terms of looking towards decks like Samira, in terms of like Leona. I'm going to get there. Karma, to where Karma has like stuns and tag outs and everything, kind of chaining all of your hopes and dreams on a might in that situation just isn't particularly good. And so I've branched away from playing 2 hushes and playing 1 hush, 1 Moonlit Affliction. This doubles up as being good against the Fizz deck, since you can interact with their elusives, but also giving us unblockable abilities against Karma. And it pushes us away from might. The big difference, though, that you will see are the additions of Wandering Shepherd and Incisive Tactician. These are both ways to either give us Overwhelm or Scout with the Wandering Shepherd, and of course to get rallies out of the Tactician. The Tactician often counts as having reputation within this deck. We have a lot of 5 attack units as it is. The Darkened Lodestone also helps push our units up to 5 attack, but oftentimes playing him for the full 8 mana is just worth it. I feel like it's a real mistake out of this deck not coming to battle with rallies, and the Incisive Tactician is about as good as it gets. You can, of course, consider Samira a rally, but that's a little bit more challenging to pull off. And so that's it. That's the decks. That's what we're going to be doing battle with today. You know what we got to do before the battles begin? No, we got to go and turn something premium. And there's only 1 card left. That's all we got. 1 premium target, and then the entirety of our decks are going to be premiumed out. Where are you at? You're somewhere down here at the bottom. The Blood Cursed Harpy. Welcome to it, my friend. Welcome to premium land. Everybody in here is premium today. And it feels good. I'm feeling good. I hope you're feeling good. Let's go ahead and jump on into battle. All right, so the round 1 battles are about to begin. We're going to be up against Caitlyn Timo, Nora Vhagar, and then Annie Swain, if it wants to load up here at the end. And for this set, I'm usually pretty happy to ban out Nora Vhagar. Nora is a strategy that just kind of gives us problems as it is, and adding in the big removal spells like Vengeance and many more, if even playing copies of Ruination, is just a pile of stuff I don't really want to deal with our mid-rangey kind of lineup. And so as far as this goes, I think things against Caitlyn Timo are fine. He's playing the 3 copies of Mystic Shot, 5 copies of 1-cost removal spells, so we'll have to watch ourselves with our smaller units, but otherwise I think the things happening here are okay, and we do actually have lots of access to Tough, which can be pretty decent against the Caitlyn side of things. Otherwise, against Annie Swain, a bit of the same deal. This is a very high removal set. This is not really a fantastic matchup for us to be going against, but I feel like our options against this deck are going to be a little bit better than they would be against Nora Swain or Nora Vhagar. Oh, okay, and here we go. Off we go. Let's see, got to get the decks chosen. Rumble Family, Rumble Harp. Rumble Rally, and off we go. It's like opponent's ready. We are too. And let's dive on in. And so again, we're going to be banning out the Nora Veigar. It's just not something I really want to be dealing with across the board. This is a fairly bad set of matchups for us, but I think the Caitlyn Teemo is the most manageable. And then between Annie Swain and Veigar Nora, I feel like Veigar Nora is just the worst case scenario for us. And so, see what we're up against. Hopefully, we can take down this set of. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I got a cat wanting to hang out. Which one do you think it is? It's the one that's just going to walk around me. All right, come on, bud. You want to watch us play some video games? No? Does not. All right, though. The battles are beginning. We'll start off with Jarvan Udyr. Head on in. Let's see how it goes. Get game 1 under our belts. All right. Little Pulse Fire Caitlyn, little Spirit Blossom Teemo, Spirit Journey Teemo, Spirit Time Teemo. all of the Teemos coming at us. Which one is this? Spirit Blossom. Nailed it. Nailed it on the first try. Let's see if he comes down early. And so the thing to watch for here is we're not ultra worried about opponent in the sense of getting puff capped out. We're a little bit more worried about the incoming flashbang traps. And so it was kind of nice that we got this fairly early Dark and Aegis. Ideally, that's going to let us just soak up the flashbang traps, right? Because the tough aspect does prevent the damage. So hopefully we get a little bit of counterplay to what he's trying to do. And then we also picked up a Petricite Charger, which is going to be good in the sense of being able to prevent some of the removal spells, right? You can't Mystic Shot a Petricite Charger. You can't hit it with the Piltover Peacemaker, and so it's got a little bit more longevity to it. Here they go. Peacemaker coming in. The Charger does take damage from the flashbang traps, though. You gotta watch out for that one. It counts as the it counts as the not a spell or a skill. However, we can say that more properly. But happy enough to get this big board down. I'm looking to just hook the Peddler out of combat with our 0-1. It's pretty dangerous to count on the formidable hook from the Broadwing to actually get a kill. Just any removal spell that he plays is going to eliminate the Broadwing from the damage contention, and so we'll just try and punch in this big set of damage. You know, it's not a bad attack. We still got a lot of dudes to follow up with, and then on this following turn, we can start to look to adding the Aegis and the Badger Bear. Maybe go for the regenerating Broadwing, if you will. Fine with any of that. Okay, prevents the damage to the Puffcat Peddler. It's okay. Nice chunk of damage is rolling through. You got 2 flash bombs in here. Got to watch that. They're gonna start connecting before you know it, and so we got to be a little bit careful in that sense.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
Right, so we'll get the Badger Bear down. This is a slightly tough spot in the sense that where you at, Boar Stance? It's slightly tough in the sense that we start to run out of things to do on this upcoming turn. Like, getting Dark and Aegis onto the board doesn't really feel spectacular, although it is a pretty good hook into the Puffcat Peddler, right? He gets to hook and still just win the combat without another card coming down. But picking up the fish fight, I think, changes everything. So let's add in the tough. I think we want to slam it onto the Broadwing. I don't want to run into one of these spots to where we hook with the Broadwing and then it gets shot for a couple points of damage and we lose our ability to actually kill something. So how do we feel about this, though? He's getting down to 3 mana. I mean, it's one of these spots where, like, ideally we're getting good combats across the board, but it's like if we hook in the Puffcat Peddler, does that even really get us anywhere? I think so. If he spends his turn spewing off mushroom clouds, I think that probably feels like a win. Getting in front of the 4 attackers sounds good to me. At the end of the day, if we get the full clear on his board, it's gonna feel like a win. And now he has to decide: do I want to go for the puff caps out of the mushroom clouds with the peddler on board, or do I want to try and kill these smaller units? Going for the units. Aight. Then we still got this fish fight behind if he tries to do something nasty. Throws down that Teemo with the 1 mana. We can make short work of him. Nope. We're getting into the squeeze your cheeks mode of the game, right? You got to squeeze them butt cheeks and dodge all the damages from the puff caps. It's tough. It's a real moment that turns up in pretty much every game, you know. playing against Teemo or not, you got to squeeze those cheeks on occasion. All right, so how do we feel about this? The thing that we're starting to run into here is we don't have anything to really do. And so if we want to get the Aegis back in hand so that we can put Jarvan onto the board this turn, then we need to be able to drop a fish fight now. But I don't really want to be fish fighting an Otterpuss. And so are we just going to switch to playing stance swaps and then looking to open attack next turn? That sounds kind of bad to me as well. I just don't want to get popped by a Teemo here. But I guess at worst, if we start doing stuff and then Teemo comes down, we can at least harsh winds away any potential flips that he's going to do. So, all right, here it comes. Here comes the big fish fight. I was not expecting this as a play that was going to be happening today. Dropping in the fish fights on an Otterpuss just in the middle of the game. But we're doing what we got to do to get this Jarvan back on board. And I'm curious if we shouldn't have just played him on the last attack. It's a pretty reasonable unit. He's planting traps. Much better target on board now with the Karina hanging out, but I don't think we have to worry too much about. I don't think we have to worry too much about a incoming set of flashbangs. I mean, you have to worry about it to a degree. They can definitely deal some damage, but I think we can handle the Karina. Then maybe he attacks here. That would be pretty okay. He gets to see the inner beast. Definitely not attacking now. And so the thing that we're looking to do is just attack, get this Karina out of the way and off of the board. Then next turn, we're going to get the rally and hopefully get the kill after the fact. So he boosts the damage on the inner beast. We still need to get in front of Karina. Hey, this is fine. It sucks to lose the bird. Ideally, we wouldn't lose it here, but our game plan is still valid. It's scary in the sense that it falls apart if he hits a flashbang onto the Wanderer. So do we ever want to consider just like waiting with Tiana and trying to play her 2 turns from now and then being in a spot where we drop a bunch of stance swaps on this turn? So say we do this, like if we just put the little dude in front of her, I think this is going to be a little bit better. We're just like, we're not at real risk of dying here. It's going to suck if he plays a second Karina, right? He's only got 1 card left in hand that we don't know about. And if that one's a Karina as well, he has the potential to do a bunch of damage here, but I think we're kind of safe. So how much are we really going to look to spend this turn? I would like to be able to hook into Karina, but it takes such an investment. Let's see. Let's see what they do. Only got 2 cards in hand. It's not too much to be scared about. Then I guess we can realistically look to push for a lethal, right? We can hook the Karina out of combat and look to do the 10 damage with the Jarvan and the Petricite Charger. Legit option there as well. So that gets us to 10 damage at this point. Shouldn't have to worry too much about damages coming in on the Petricite Charger, right? It gets to block the enemy spells and skills and such, and so as it stands right now, I think we're able to just hook Karina out of combat and be safe. Doing a little draw 2. We get something cool in here. 1 flashbang trap, 2 flashbang traps. Of course they all land directly on the Petricite Charger. Sad day for it. Gonna drop some perilous pastries on us. Teemo comes in. All right. Alright, well the combat should be pretty safe. Get this Jarvan attack in, make everything a little bit more expensive. I think that'll be fine. And then the Tiana still ready to come down next turn. How tight are y'all's cheeks right now? Have y'all been squeezing with me? Just, you know, doing a little butt cheek squeezing. I'm trying to think of a new word for it, another term. the important part of our game here, trying to figure out if we can get better terms for squeezing your butt cheeks together. It's tough. It's tough, fam. I know. But let's try and get nasty on this Teemo. I feel a little bit better about using Petricite Charger. Again, he's got 1 card in hand, and if it's a burn kind of spell, it won't do anything to the Chargers to where he could potentially get a bit of a takedown on the Jarvan. He shouldn't be able to kill the Jarvan and stop the single combat, but I don't want to lose the unit if we don't have to. And then if everything goes wrong, right, we still have that harsh winds for Teemo. This doesn't do what you want, my friend. Doesn't do what you want. Our anti-Mystic Shot machine showing how it can anti-Mystic Shot. Feels good. Feels good. Alright, so we'll see what they do. Again, we should be pretty safe here. He's only got 1 card in hand that we don't know about. And so if he just adds a unit to the board or something, then we should know if we can just safely play Tiana. And if he doesn't do anything too crazy here, probably just look towards playing the king. Alright, well, now that we have the initiative, we should be able to drop Tiana. I don't think there's really anything that he could add to the board here that stops us, right? If he adds a unit, we can just attack around it. Alright, GG. Jarvan Udyr taking down the victories. Nobody believes in it but us. But alright, a little bit of a tougher matchup here. Again, the Samira Leona does have some opportunities against the flashbang stack, just because our units are so much bigger, right? If we're dropping 4/6 Leonas and 5/5 Ravoons, they tend to be able to, to soak up a flashbang trap or two. To whereas against this, like I need to check his removal suite real quick. Let's get this pulled up. Is it out here? Annie Swain? Oh, he's not actually playing like things like Disintegrate. So it's a very heavy P and Z style with 2 Lord Broadmains, 2 Leviathans, and 2 Pirouettes. Okay, so it's much more tied into Annie.
Ours is the one true light.
Good to know. Good to know. The major concern when you typically play against something like Annie Swain is going to be Disintegrate. Does Disintegrate even still in the game? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not. I know that a lot of the cards, like, it's Annie's flip, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the card is still in the game. So here, do we want to add the Shield Bearer? I do. It's kind of tough in the sense that I want to be hitting these Daybreaks, but we don't necessarily need this one. It's like we also have this option to say load up our Solari Soldier, and then next turn we could come in with Samira. But Samira's a little scary in the sense that she does just die to a lot, right? All those Mystic Shots, all those high notes and everything come in and take the Samira down. So I do like this angle as to where we're coming at them with 3 health units. So the takes 2 cards to kill the soldier, takes 1,000,000 cards to kill the shield bearer. If we get this attack off, then the next turn the shield bearer will be a 3 attack unit. Should take 2 cards to kill it, right? The aftershock can kill a 3 attack unit, but in large part, these are pretty high valued attackers. What we just saw is what we're trying to avoid, right? I don't want him pirouetting off a 1 health unit. I don't want him using a single removal spell to kill 1 card. We're really trying to get our card advantages out of him not being able to effectively remove our units. But building up a pretty juicy board, and then we can look to we can look to we want a shield bearer here. It's like you have to start thinking about using your shield bearers in the face of Swain, and so we get pretty good blocks with it. Maybe we'll just add the soldier here. But no, we get to start building up to Harazi as well, so it gives another angle of problem causing for the opposing deck. All right, friends. Let's see if we can't get into some battles. I assume the Samira is probably just going to get popped, but... Oh, nice. And Ravoon. Don't mind if I do. So it should leave us in a pretty safe spot, right? He doesn't have any big AoEs in his deck, so we don't have to worry about getting super punished about playing units here. Play something like Pirouette to shoot the soldier and take down Ravoon, but the big problem we would have to worry about here would be like a Swain coming in, and we actually have pretty good answers to Swain, given that we have the Flare in hand. So that's going to let us make attacks like this, to where we boost the Ravoon, give him a bit of Challenger, hook in the Swain, just get that nonsense dealt with, and then he's either going to have to like devote a bunch of resources to stop this Ravoon. I think like most of the time he probably just outright loses his Swain, and this still leaves us in a spot to where, you know, if we roll into the next turn and something goes wrong here, we still have the Shield Bearer and the Sunhawk ready to try and take, not take the Swain off the board, but keep him from attacking. But looks like we got him removed. Punching in for 5. Ravoon's still around. Not bad, not bad. Annie turns up. Sure. I wonder if we're going to be close enough to punch in for lethals next turn. We don't have to worry about more Ravenous Flocks, right? Ravenous Flock is one of the cards that's only in the game via Swain, right? Ravenous Flock is not a card you can put in your deck. You just hit it with the Swain flips, and so don't have to worry about Ravoon getting flocked. Do have to worry about things like Scorched Earth, but I think it'll be okay. Let that go. So as it stands, I don't feel super comfortable with this board trying to get lethals, and so I'm going to play it a little slow. I think we want the Fallen Comet here. Again, the things we're going to worry about are going to be like Swain and the Leviathan. Being able to take those down with the Comet's kind of a big deal. And then we'll see where we get in this next turn. Broadmane. Okay. So again, I don't think we're going to get the lethal this turn, but we can grind him out of a bunch of cards. I don't really want to be open attacking here. I get that we're just going to be losing out on our Ravoon. That's just a certainty at this point. But I think we can take down the Broadmane. If we get him to start chaining off a bunch of removal spells, we might be able to build up to it if we know what we're getting ourselves into. We got 5 mana at this point. That's pretty good. I don't think he has any units left in his deck that he can even play at this point. Oh, he's got Fanciers and Acorns. That's probably just going to be burn spells. Nope. Here comes old Reggie.
It's an awesome day for progress.
Clad in shining sunlight.
All right, well, let's add another big dude. We can still add the lodestone, the flare, and the pigeon for the turn, so we got lots of good stuff to potentially happen. I'm gonna put the lodestone on Samira. You know, she's a little susceptible to things like Mystic Shot. Might as well give her some protection if we can. Do we want to put the flare onto Ravoon? Like, he's such just a juicy target to try and kill. Is that too greedy? Right, I'm just kind of envisioning that opponent wants to play removal spells onto Ravoon. So if we just hook Ravoon out of combat, it should make it a little bit more challenging. And then if he's playing as a removal to just not die, he's going to need to shoot his removal at our other units out here. And so I think that's probably fairly safe.
This should be fun. Devotion through battle.
So we're going to come in like this, Ravoon at the end. He's going to say hook onto Samira, then looking at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So even if he kills one of our 2/2s, we'll still be hitting for 9. Sounds good to me. Oh, do we add that wrong? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Added it a little wrong. But I think this still stands as being good. Right? He wants to play his removals onto Ravoon. He can't do it. And then since he can't kill Ravoon, we're going to get the kill onto Annie. Oh, we got the flare as well. I forget about that juicy little nugget coming back to our hand. 1 to the Nexus. And that should be a GG. Well played, my friend. Nice set of battles. And so good stuff. Good stuff. A nice little start. No goose eggs today. We're not running through this thing as a 0 winner. It feels good. GG, my friend. All right, so up to our next set of battles. Going to be doing battle against Ashe LeBlanc, Fizz Samira, and then Maokai Nautilus. And this one is a bit of a problem, right? I'm not the biggest fan of having to play against sea monsters, but it's one of those decks we can beat. I feel like if we have to pick the best of the worst for us to do battle against between Ashe LeBlanc and then the Maokai Nautilus deck, we're just going to go up against the sea monsters. They can have some some fairly awkward draws to where they just don't come onto the board fast enough. And I think that this is the one that we have a better chance of taking advantage of as compared to the Ashe deck. But also seeing the Fizz deck in the mix, this is the one that we're hoping we're capable of beating twice, since the other matchup for us is not going to be that great. So, good stuff. Let's go ahead and jump on into battle. All right, off we go. Got the Udyr family, the Aatrox family, the Leona family, every family here in attendance today. Good stuff. And so again, we're gonna ban out that Ashe LeBlanc deck. We'll be looking to battle against Samira Fizz and the Sea Monsters deck. The thing I did notice with Samira Fizz is he wasn't playing heavy metal. I figured it was going to be a little easier just to pull it up in client here, but we'll wait and see if that's going to take a moment or not. But again, you can see the deck lists. It's got the one parlay, but then, oh, he is playing heavy metal. I looked at it up here and didn't think that was the case. I missed it. I was looking up in the parlay space. He is playing heavy metal, and so fairly straightforward list out of this one. And then is playing the full set of heavy metals, 3 Undergrowths, 2 Vengeances out of the Sea Monsters. So we will have to keep that in mind as we look to send in a lot of equipment-based units here. Look at that, putting the ban onto Udyr. My dude, my man, bringing the thunder. It doesn't happen too often. And so, let's see what we can do. See what we can do without our bear friend here. All right, so not the greatest of starts. We would ideally be starting off with a 1-drop against this deck. This is one of the places as to where I really want to push aggressively for it. And so I'm going to take the full hand mulligan here. We're going to look for a 1. And then the idea with this is even if we don't find a 1, we should probably fall back into at least either the same 2-drop or a different 2-drop. We're playing so many of each of them that it's not unreasonable to think that another one's going to turn up. Now here it's a little bit safer to just go in with the Shield Bearer. The Samiras aren't going to add too much right there. Smaller damage than the Shield Bearer and something that can just come in and die to a it can just come in and die to a heavy metal. I don't want to be losing our unit right away. The growth coming in, sure thing. So we're getting ourselves to the spot to where we're about to be open attacking. It's not super ideal, right? I would really prefer to be getting an additional unit on the board, maybe forcing a challenge or something, but we'll see how the next turn goes. Wasn't surprised to see the second undergrowth come in. But we'll get our wish, I guess. We got we got another unit to put on the board, and so hopefully we can dive in with something strong here. We'll add the shield bearer. This is going to give us the potential for much better challenges. If we play Samira, she's probably just going to die. Let's give an ally challenger. Kind of sucks not being able to get a kill here, but we can at least attack without losing any units. Chunk in a bit of damage, and then hopefully get ourselves set up to where, you know, this Might or this Incisive Tactician will give us the tools we need to finish the game. Alright, right on time with Ravoon, though. I think we still want to add him. I mean, is there a world where he just doesn't attack? It's not that bad if he doesn't attack, right? I think he's going to do it like 100% of the time, but well, let's wait on the Ravoon for just a moment. Ooh, big Solari. Okay. I mean, he's pretty far away from deep, right? And so you find yourself with this decision as you're playing against deep in that, do I want to open attack? Because we know that he's going to he's going to be adding in a unit, and then that unit's going to add in a sapling from Maokai. I think that we're kind of stuck here. It's like, well, maybe not. Like, yeah, let's add the unit. Like, the space that I worry about is he just plays Devourer of the Depths, right? And if he gets the Devourer of the Depths, then we're most certainly going to fall behind in front of it.
Don't ask for permission or forgiveness.
But we can add in Samira. We still have a lot of very good attacks on the round. I feel like we need to get this Maokai off of the board, and so I'm going to give Samira the Challenger. Send that into Maokai. We're going to lose a unit to the Sapling, but it kind of is what it is. Just slam it. Hope for the best. Hope we can get a nice setup with the Tactician and the Might. Is he going deep? He is. Okay. Rip Ravoon. Oh, snap. I missed that. I missed the Megatusk getting the heal on the Maokai. Oh, that's a disaster. That's a disaster right there. It's up to 19 at this point. Ugh. I did not see that one coming. But still got to try to recover out of this. So the thing that's a bit of a bummer here is we want to be able to say like Incisive Tactician and Might and Flare. Like that gives us a lot of opportunity to, you know, put Challenger onto a to put Challenger onto a unit and then get to attack with it twice. I feel like that's about the only angle we're gonna have here, but unfortunately for us in this space, it's not quite enough damage, right? Even if we say have an 8-attack Tactician, get the hook into Megatusk, the hook into Maokai, we're still not going to be able to deal enough damage. So, GG, my dude. I did not have high expectations for that match. It's a very tough one for us to win. But again, I think the matchup against I think the matchup against Deep probably a little bit more successful than the matchup against Ashe. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe we need to be swapping that around and just like if we have to play against Deep, just leave Ashe up. But in my experience, that Ashe matchup is pretty terrible. All right, though. Up against Fizz Samira. Let's see if we can't turn the tables here, turn the tide, get something a little bit better going. With this, I don't feel the need to as aggressively mulligan for a 1-drop. It's nice that we found the Pigeon. You know, it's a very useful unit here, but it's not like the Deep matchup to where we just like have to have something go right. It's okay to be a little bit slower. Definitely trade for the Fizz given the chance. Okay. Going to get my daybreaks in. No denying that. Getting this Leona primed and ready to go.
Unyielding light.
Right. Rip for the shield bearer. We can add in the precious pet. It's kind of interesting in that the opponent is playing cards like Parlay, and we can potentially set ourselves up to where on the next turn we add the Sunhawk and the precious pet and the darkened lodestone, and then we can look to open on the following turn. But on the following turn, we're just going to play Leona. And so if he has the Parlay here, fine. Heavy metal, love seeing that come down. But I just don't envision us having the mana to make that kind of play work. Now Sun Guardian turns up. Not a super necessity at this point. Let's go ahead and bring in the lodestone. I'm going to put it on the bird. I don't expect him to have a third heavy metal. That's kind of hard to do. But if he's going to have a heavy metal, I'll at least want to be able to protect our unit here. Now, I also suspect we're just going to be re-hooking in this Inferna. I like being able to take Leona up to a 5/7 and then get this dum-dum off of the board.
Glorious light rains down.
We'll see, though. May not be necessary. Alright, you taking the Hush or you taking the Sun Guardian? None. He says, I'm taking the Jagged Butcher. I'm bringing the Butcher. We have to run into Hush here, though? How bad is this if we run into Hush? And, right, if we're going to try and boost Leona, we hook the Dum-Dum and then he just hushes her? Fine. I think we can still battle through this board. Right, my thinking with this is he's not going to have the time to do a bunch of combo stuff with this Inferno. Like, it feels, like a reasonable mistake in letting him hang on to this unit for so long and get all the card draw that comes out of it. But I think it's still just reasonably safe. If it was, say, like turn 8 and he had access to just an actual shit ton of mana, I think I would feel, worse about it. Parlay to the face coming in. Gonna be another Father Fury coming through.
Behold the sun's holy light.
All right, he's gonna have all the Hushes today. I mean, I guess there's a world where he wants this Wandering Shepherd, but he's bringing all that thunder in. Says, "Give me everything you got." Got anything in here? Anything cool? Not really. We're really hoping for either Overwhelm or Scout and didn't find it. We'll go for Tough just to give Leona a little bit of longevity. Sure. And a Shepherd. And so I suspect the other card he took from us was Hush. I still believe that there's going to be one coming out of his hand. Lost to Shelly.
My faith protects me.
All right, let's take the stuns and stuff where we can get them. See if we can't shut a little bit of this down.
Beautiful and brutal, just how I like it.
And say we're gonna regret not removing this Inferna. I'm pretty confident that that's what's gonna happen. But we weren't gonna be able to actually kill her was the problem, and so it doesn't feel as bad in that sense.
Devotion through battle.
All right, I'm gonna send in the team like this, make everybody have 3 health across the board. So if he's wanting to do some blocking with Samira, he should be a little bit weaker. Okay. Getting those elusives out of the way feels pretty good. Purple fish number 2, sure thing. All right, let's see how bad it gets. And oh, an incisive tactician. Oh man, he's not going to expect that one, right? Hush and heavy metal. All right. Sad day for Leona. Not enough to kill her. Get that rally. The incisive tactician rally always gets me. There's this delay between when the incisive tactician actually attacks and when the rally comes in and hits, and it really just gets me every single time. And so I would much appreciate it if that speed happened a little bit faster. But I'm going to take the blocks everywhere that we can. We'll still put the Tactician in front of Samira. If he has to play a 2-attack combat trick and kills the Tactician, I think that that's okay. I suspect that's what we're going to see here. We're just in this space to where we don't want to take damage, right? This is the spot to where we're going to get domed, is if we put a blocker in front of Samira and then he's like, LOL, I got I got the removal spell, or I got the combat trick just to get the kill. And so we definitely don't want to see that happening. Now, he's only got 1 card in hand with 2 blockers. We should be able to come in for the 7 here. I'm looking to attack like this, just boost our unit that isn't Leona. Shouldn't be any fast speed ways to deal a point of damage to Leona. Probably have our Shield Breaker and our Sunhawk survive here. Get the damages in. GG. Ooh, you gotta squeeze them cheeks against Fizz Samira, though. It doesn't. It's one of those matchups to where it doesn't matter if you're favored. You still gotta worry about what's going on. They got a lot of powerful stuff coming at you, and so makes me a little scared. You know, makes me a little scared. All right, though. Aatrox coming in. What can we do here? Combat Cook not at his finest in this matchup. We'll hang on to the Blinding Assault just to try and have an attacker on turn 2. See how it goes. So I'm going to drop the bird. I don't want to be running the Darkened Spear out immediately. It's just asking to have a good unit get heavy metaled right away. And so I can add the bird. That's a pretty juicy heavy metal target. And we'll wait until the next turn or so before we try and drop Darkened Spears. Jagged Butcher comes in. I think I'm willing to just pass on that one. We can maybe deal with it in the near future. I don't feel like there's any... Oh, Jesus, 2 of them? I don't feel like there's any real reason to just be slamming into these things, though. And Samira. It's a problem. That's a problematic board. We do not line up to that well. We're going to be losing 2 units here. Nothing we can really do about that. But we can let this combat happen and then try and Blinding Assault, Darkened Spear down Samira next turn. Really kind of feels like he's just sitting on heavy metal mana, and so I'm going to take this a little slow. We'll run in with the bird, just try and take Samira down, see where that gets us. We'll follow up with the Combat Cook, see if we can't just clear some of this stuff out. Barbed Chain coming through, sure thing. And then here is the juicy target for the the juicy target for the heavy metal. Let's see if that one rolls through. Not so far. Well, did we just get a full board clear here? That's not terrible. Okay. Still at a pretty healthy life total with no board from opponent. I don't hate it. Now we can look to build up with these Quins and the Quinn Birds and the Darkened Spear.
Oh boy, here I go.
Let's just do this. Let's just go ahead and lead with Quinn. I'm not opposed to playing a fish fight to just deal damage directly. And if he has a bunch of combat tricks to soak the damage into Quinn, I think it's okay. Give it one more card here. Barbed Chain, he's just going to be attacking. Maybe we should have done it a little more preemptively. Oh, we still got a shot. Again, just want to prevent this damage if we can.
We're not done yet.
More Burblefish. So he's got 2 1-cost cards in hand, and then 1 card that's actually in his deck. Spiking Parlay's pretty good, I'll give you that. But we should ideally be able to take advantage of this board. You know, he's really weakened in terms of what his deck has access to. That was a nasty parlay, though. I was really planning on being able to kill his entire team. The Harpy comes in. How close to lethal is this? I mean, if we had a Cataclysm, I would be all about it. But we can say if the only play we make for the turn is to drop the Harpy and then go for the Fish-a-Whack. I don't think we ever get lethals that way. But like we're so close to just dying to Fizz. God, that parlay was so nasty. Not being able to clear this board out is a fucking disaster. I think we have to go for the Valor and then just kind of hope on next turn. Yeah, I think this game is done. It's brutal seeing the card generated out of Burblefish be so relevant. Like hit a good card like Elixir of Iron or a big trick or something, but this is just nasty. Not really matter either way. We just give it. We gotta protect the unit, but then we need it to have enough health to challenge twice. So just playing the catch should be fine. Oh shit! He just put the stun onto that. Fuck. That doesn't help. All right. I think we're still just dead. Little whoopsies there, but if we weren't getting it without the bird, then we're just definitely just fucked here. All right, GG. Whew, that's tough. That's tough. It's a nasty combination of cards rolling through. But, GG, my dude. Move on to the next one. All right, man, as we're waiting on this next round to start, I got to tell you what's coming up. And so this video will release on Easter Sunday. I don't particularly care about the religious aspects to it, but our family does get together and eat some food as the spring and summer times are coming upon us. You got to get prepared for the food eateries, the get-togethers, and everything. And I really lay this important knowledge on our channel. If you're one of the new folks out there, as you get older, you know you're required to bring food to these events. You can't just be showing up, eating all the good foods, pounding the beers, and heading home. Right, you gotta bring your contribution, and the thing that I've really grown to doing is just bringing deviled eggs to everything. And so I make a serious batch of deviled eggs. Whenever some event comes up, you know that they're gonna be there. You know they're not gonna be shitty because I made them. And so you just pick that one thing, and then you just make it every time. And deviled eggs are great because you use it at events throughout the summer, then you use it at Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff, and so you get year-round usage of that one recipe that you're good at doing. And so it's become kind of a meme within my family and bringing the deviled eggs forth. And so we're really bringing it special this year. I got this treat for Christmas. I can't tell if it'll turn up. It's called Delish Deviled Eggs by Kathy Casey. And this is probably a true goddess of the world. I can't get it to show up in the video. I tried, but you know, she's really doing the work out there for everyone, saying, here's an entire book just dedicated to deviled eggs, and you should buy it. And support my lifestyle and hopefully help improve yours through the usage of deviled eggs. And so I'm going to be making, I've picked it out, I've picked my poison, I've chosen it. It's going to be the Green Goddess deviled eggs. I don't know why there's a $5 bill in here, but there certainly is one. And so I'll have to let you know in the upcoming video how this goes out. It looks pretty straightforward. I think we can do it. It's got avocados and tarragon leaves and shit in it, and so I think that I'm going to be able to put forth a good thing with that. But if you need a little help with this, if you're 18, 19 years old and you're realizing that you're supposed to turn up to these events and you don't know what to do, here's how you do it. You pick that food you like, and then you're going to go to google.com. You're going to type in that food, then you're going to type in the word recipe, and then you're going to type in the word easy. Then you can go and pick the first response on the list, move ahead with that. I guarantee you it's going to be good. Everyone will be so proud of you. And then when everyone's giving you high fives on the way out the door, you can say, wow, that old man boomer bust may not be that good at video games, but he did drop some seriously good life knowledge on me. Got me making my new treat to bring to the events and feeling pretty good about that. And so I'll let you know. Green Goddess deviled eggs, you'll be hearing about that soon. If you got a treat that you made, let me know as well. I'd love to hear about it. And so let's get ourselves ready. Jump on into this next battle. All right, round 3 is here. Going to be going up against Caitlyn Jace, Fizz Samira, and then the Gwen Quinn deck. And so I feel pretty good about banning out the Caitlyn Jace. It's just this pile of stuff we don't want to be dealing with. Just a humongous amount of removal spells. It's got the Vengeances and Piercing Darknesses to deal with our big units. It's all around just nasty stuff for our decks to be dealing with. We've talked about being fine with Fizz Samira. I know we dropped a game to it in the last match, but I think it's still reasonable enough to go to battle against. And then lastly, there is the Gwen Quinn deck. This is a deck to where Aatrox Vayne suffers against this. It's not a particularly good matchup. The other decks are okay. And so we're going to have to kind of pick and choose. Hopefully we can get a good matchup into this one, but it's a deck that as the decks were kind of like in the mid-rangey space, looking at say like Ashe LeBlanc or Samira Leona or this one, Gwen Quinn. Gwen Quinn was kind of at like the bottom of that space of us really caring, and so I'm fine to leave this one up. It's not a super ideal matchup, but it's not a terrible one by any means. All right, off we go. The Rumble family, the Rumble Harp, the Rumble Rally. Let's see how this turns out. And so I expect, I wonder if he's actually going to come in and ban out our Udyr deck. We've started to see it, man. People are starting to give it a little bit of respect. I think from the opponent's perspective, he probably wants to just ban out Samira and then try and take advantage of our Aatrox Vayne deck, but I'm still feeling pretty good about trying to take down the Caitlyn Jace. So there wasn't anything too wild and crazy about these decks. The Fizz Samira did have things like Elegant Edge, playing the full 3 copies of Fleet Admiral Shelley, and then the big collection of removal spells in the 3 heavy metals, 3 pirouettes. Nothing too crazy happening there. And then the Gwen Quinn deck, it did have a bit of removal in it. You don't always see the likes of Quietus and Hate Spikes, and the Cataclysms are always here, but nothing too crazy going on with that one. So, leaves up our Udyr deck. Always love to see that. Let's go ahead and get it on into battle. And cool, we got that matchup that we would prefer against Gwen Quinn. This isn't like a super ideal matchup. This is one where they can definitely get ahead of us and take advantage of us. A lot of it comes down to whether or not they're able to deploy a opulent foyer. But we do have some advantages you don't see out of the Aatrox deck, to where we could say Ram Stance away a big collection of 1 health units. It gives us a little bit more opportunity than we get out of the other matchups. Right. Reasonable enough start. The downside to what we're looking at here is we don't have any way to deal with a Gwen. And so, we can play the Broadwing into Vulpine Wanderer, have the single combat up and running, but we can't deal with a 4 health unit at the moment. And that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause with what's happened here, but so far it's okay. All right, so I'll bring in the Wanderer. We can look to this matchup to be in the spot to where we load up the Broadwing with the stance swap. Give us a bigger unit that's tough for opponent to deal with. We'll see if that brings itself forth in this upcoming turn. We might actually want to find ourselves trying to take down Gwen with this style of play. Can be a little bit dangerous. It looks like he's thinking about sending a hate spike towards one of our units, which scares me a little bit. You know, if we're going to be all in on trying to take down Gwen here, then having a hate spike go with the Broadwing is going to be a problem. But we'll give it a moment and see how this plays out. Ideally, we can at least set this up to where he plays his hate spike a little preemptively, and we at least get to take something down with this. Alright, just get a little bit of protection on the bird. We'll have to take a hit from Gwen this round, but we do have the good... he's got to be Hallowed 2 after that. We have the good block onto the Boisterous Host, and then we can try and interact with Gwen next turn. But this game has just been kind of is what it is. You know, as we're... The key card in this matchup for the opponent is the Opulent Foyer. If they don't have it, then they don't have the means to grow their units big enough to stop what you're doing, and they had it. And so, you know, it's kind of whatever. Rough start here as well. Just no way to add units to the board this turn. Well, we'll see. I mean, we have to have something go right here on this Gwen attack. Right enough. Just gonna have a Mist's Call. We at least have the answer to Mist's Call here in the fish fight, taking down the Gwen. And so it might be a little bit of a change of fortunes for us, if you will. But this is, again, it's fairly tough. We're counting a lot on our Jarvan getting some work done next turn. But the Gwen has been removed. Let's see if they just immediately drop the Eternal Dancers. Jarvan's good in the face of Eternal Dancers, though. I'll give him credit for that. So how do we feel about this one? Do we want to just go ahead and 1 damage AoE? We get to kill everything off except the Gwen. I think that's pretty reasonable. So who do we want to put the stats on, though? Like, do we ever... I think this is probably okay to just go ahead and put it on the little bird, and then we'll see. We'll see how he goes about this. I'm not entirely planning on blocking Gwen with the Broadwing, but it's an option, right? If we find ourselves, you know, stuck having to block Gwen, it sucks. Ideally, we're going to get to open and then just kill her with Jarvan. Nope. Look at this massive damage that rolls through now. So brutal. Gotta just block everything when they're coming at you with these gigantic fuckers. So, can we actually take this hit? Are we going to be able to build up enough board to get around this stuff? I mean, I would feel so much better about it if we were only going to fall to 3, right? Because then you're able to kind of just ignore the ghastly bans. I think we're at the spot to where something just has to go right? We're going to have to deal with that attacking unit every turn from now on. And let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, the fresh question is, do we want to, say, just like drop Jarvan and get the big smash of damage in? And then maybe next turn we can get something going with Tiana. Like if we get the rally out of her, that does also leave us with a bit of mana behind. Which is kind of nice. I think I'm okay with this. Maybe we can get out in front of it next turn. I don't know. He has a lot of time to add units to the board. He's going to go, LOL, here's a Gwen to just get massive units. But I think that's a good start. We can put him on the back foot with Tiana. The thing you just really have to watch for here is if he's able to get wider than us. And since we're willing to fall down to 2... Oh, he's got Cataclysm. Fuck me. Okay. At least we can block the resulting ghastly band with Jarvan. Hanging out back here with his barriers. Critically important for this turn.
Please make yourself right at home.
Okay. Whoa. Whoa. That was a win. I'm really surprised he didn't attack with both. You could have threatened the lethal with the Phantom Butler. Very interesting no attack there. So do we have the time to get in front of this with Tiana? It's going to depend on what unit he adds to the board. Interesting. Interesting. Well, we have to take the blocks. So the thing we have to worry about at this point is if he's going to be able to, say, play a scout unit and then cataclysm the scout unit to get the rally. Or I guess just any rally is going to be problematic. But I think we're stuck just dropping Tiana. Now, the thing that Tiana does here is, say he plays a Relentless Pursuit to pick up a rally. He then gets the unit off of the Opulent Foyer. Right? We attack. He has to block our Tiana because he's just going to die if he doesn't. And this potentially puts us in a spot to where we can get around what he's doing, right? It's just gonna. I ultimately feel like this is one of these spots where they're gonna be like, "LOL, it's Quinn," but you know, we have the chance to actually to deal with this stuff. What's the hallowed at this point? 11. Fine. I was like, oh man, can we put the spear onto Tiana and get away from this? We can't. We're a little bit short there, but not dead. Not dead is a better place to be than dead. Alright, what you got for us, deck? Another Darkened Spear. Really stuck only being able to add one unit to the board. I think we just have to add the Spear and hope. The downside with adding these Spears, or adding the Anaka, I should say, is we don't have a lot of good units left in our deck, right? We're not going to pull off one of these turns to where we get this gigantic summon and we have a lot of really high-powered units. And so... Ooh, okay. I'll get behind that. I was really expecting the Eternal Dancers to block the Jarral, just give him the opportunity to attack next turn. But if he's going to lose the Eternal Dancers to the Naka, that seems pretty good. Okay. I wonder if we got away with something there with the Jarral coming in as a surprise, and then not letting him play any spells. Ooh, Harsh Winds is huge. Harsh Winds is huge. We might have snuck our way out of this one. Give that one a maybe. We can come in, we can block with Jarral. Now we have to decide a little bit, and do we want to, say, add Jarvan? The thing with Jarvan is he lets us still Harsh Winds. I think that's probably where we're at. Also, with the Jarvan, if we get an open attack next turn, we just get this massive pile of attackers. Happy enough with it. I think it's too dangerous to add the Petricite Charger, though. I'm not going to look towards it. If he drops a Relentless Pursuit or something this turn, it's too scary. If he starts to like, Cataclysm these units, it's not nearly as bad. But I don't think we can risk adding in the Petricite Charger. It's a little too scary for me. Here's a Cataclysm. Do we just let that go? He's only got 2 cards in hand at this point. But, like, I don't... This never lethals us, right? He kills a Naka, which sucks, but... Okay, we have to be safe to drop the Charger at this point, and then we can just open attack next turn. I didn't pull up his deck list, but I don't think he has anything that stops this. There's no vengeances or anything coming out of this deck. Ooh, man, these games today, these have been tight. You know what I don't like about this format? The games are just so close, right? Who wants to play fun and close games, right? You're out here squeezing your butt cheeks the entirety of the games. Just so much tension in all of them. Wow. All right. Well, we got one victory. Let's see if Aatrox Vayne can't take down one of these decks. Again, the Aatrox Vayne matchup into Quinn Gwen is pretty bad. It's certainly winnable, but it's not a good one. So gotta have a lot go right to take down the victories here. Reasonable enough start though. We can add a Broadwing on 2, Blinding Assault and Darkened Spear on 3, or we can look to play it a little bit slower and say Broadwing into Darkened Spear and then try and fish fight Gwen on turn 4. Alright, so I'm looking to add in the Broadwing and then just pass. I don't want to really get involved with this board. Getting takedowns on these Boisterous Hosts at this stage doesn't really feel like a win. So if he comes in with the open attack here, I will get in front of the host. That starts to be a little bit too much damage. He says, nah, not yet. Not yet. Now, do we want to add Vayne or do we want to add the Badger Bear? We probably need the Badger Bear at this point. I don't think we're quite ready to throw away the Vayne, and then the tumbles aren't going to be relevant for a bit of time. I do like applying some pressure, but I guess the thing to think of is on this next turn, like, we're going to have Blinding Assault, we're going to Darken Spear, we're going to hook the Boisterous Host, then we're going to re-hook probably into the Phantom Butler. So maybe Vayne is going to be safe here. It's like if we really need to, we can hook an additional unit with the Broadwing. He's going to get cleft by a Hate Spike. No catches around. Cataclysm. Okay. You fought hard, Vayne. You came in, you tried, you fought hard. Nice effort. Now, I wonder what the chances of a Gwen coming down this turn. Like, I don't think we start to worry about cards like Mist's Call when we see him tap away that 3 mana, right? I feel like if he had a Mist's Call in hand, he would play Gwen this turn and then just keep protected from it. But we'll have to see. I still feel pretty decent about the bird into Darkened Spear, and then probably just throwing away the bird, getting the spear back in hand, and preparing us to fish fight. We'll see if that plays out how we intend. Right, so far so good. All right, attack number 1, doing its thing. Who are those stats gonna land on? Someone special, I'm sure. Someone special. Okay. Could look to say actually condemn this Redeemed Prodigy, but it's not the unit I'm particularly worried about at this point. I'm more worried about Gwen coming in than the Prodigy. No damage turn? Sure thing. Down here, mana. So we'll add in the Blinding Assault. Going to go ahead and put the Darkened Spear on it. And then we'll look for an open attack next turn. He currently doesn't have anything on the board, right? See if he has to add any dudes down here. Oh, get right out of that quietus. Say 5 stats, please. All right, the biggest Fleet Feather Tracker 2023 is what's about to roll through with these. Hope he's ready to get the job done. Interesting. I'm about ready to just give up on the turn, which I think is okay, right? We are kind of getting built up to this big tumble turn, right? If we tumble next turn, then we can look to get our scout token. We're probably going to want a fish fight so that we can get the Anaka into our hand. But is that where we want to take this? All right, Rip Bird. I'm okay with that. He's just doing just doing stuff. Okay with that as well. That seems fine. We got a fairly safe tumble here. Give us our attack token back. It's very nice if we're able to, say, pick off these units before they can get the big hallowed bonus.
Please make yourself right at home.
So we'll send the attack in. That's going to activate the condemn. We're going to definitely look to get Anaka back in hand. And so maybe not this turn, maybe it's next turn, but something we would like to see. Quinn is interesting. She's a bit of a problem. Do we want to just go ahead and take her down? I would assume he's going to make his scout attack and send the Valor to the left. Whatever Valor gets in front of is just going to die. But I think we're okay to just let that happen. Oh, geez, I didn't realize the Elkin was so big. I was kind of fading the Elkin back in our hand like he wasn't that important, but he is big enough to just kill this stuff. And so if he hooks the Elkin with Valor and then we get to shoot down Gwen, that feels like a win. And then we can just fish fight something else. Maybe we did this wrong. Like I'm getting in my head that I really want to have this this Elkin on the board. Alright, well, he's out of attack tokens at this point. We can still hang on to the condemn if we want, so we can try and use it on the next turn. So I'm looking to, say, put the spear onto our dude, and then just take the cheap fish fight. Probably not going to be able to get a ton out of the Anaka next turn, right? If he just, well, that should be fine. I think I'm on board with this. The thing is, we lose out on our ability to play the condemn because we can't make 2 attacks, but it's probably not as important this turn as much as next turn. So it's like, right, we're in that same spot as the previous game now. If he rallies or does something to get a foyer token, then we're still in pretty tip-top shape. Would we hit Harpy? Not bad. Not bad. Mountain of stats on the whole Harpy. And enough for a GG. Woof. Tight games, man. GG from you. That stuff, it's squeezing them cheeks. Squeezing them cheeks hard. So, nice set of battles. GG. And so, the last bit of life stuff I had to say today, I had the deviled eggs on my agenda, and now we also have to talk about one other thing. And so I had this weird dream, and like I have to just talk about it because it was so strange to me in the way that happened. And so it's like in the dream, on a date with somebody I went to like I grew up with. We were in school together. They were in different grades, so we didn't spend a lot of time together. But definitely like wasn't my wife, and so it was like weird that we were out on this date adventure thing. But the thing I had to like talk about in the middle of the date was like we like stopped at a convenience store or something, and I purchased, like, if you go to the grocery store, they have these like gigantic rolls of ground beef. Right, you can get like a 5-pound roll of ground beef. It's like just this massive tube of it. And I stopped and I purchased 2 of those big rolls of ground beef, 2 1-pound package of ground beef, and 5 packs of cigarettes. Now I have no idea what was going on with this. Like I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't even know. And so, like, the only next thing I remember out of the dream is what happened is, like, I'm trying to, like, handle all of this stuff. And so I'm trying to fit, like, 5 packs of cigarettes into my pants, which isn't really working, but we get it done. And then it's like I pick up my haul of 12 pounds of meat, and I go outside of the convenience store, and it's like I meet up with the lady, and then the thing I say to her is, "You're a vegetarian, aren't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm a vegetarian." And so it's like I take the 12 pounds of meat and just set it on a bench, and then we walk off. And so I have no fucking idea what that is supposed to mean. If Freud wants to come in and analyze what's happening with why we're buying 12 pounds of meat and having all this stuff happen, I'm really kind of curious as to as to what that one's supposed to mean. According to Freud, it probably means I want to bang my mom or something, right? But it was just such a wild ride, going and purchasing all the meat and then running into the vegetarian. It blew my mind. The other thing it made me think of, and so I used to smoke cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for about a decade. I gave it up before I moved to Kansas City, so it was like 6 or 7 years ago when I quit smoking cigarettes. But even to this day, even though I haven't smoked, I've smoked maybe like 2 cigarettes since I moved to Kansas City. But even to this day, anytime I get up to go out of the house, I check my pants pocket for a pack of cigarettes because it's such a bummer to go out into the world without your nicotine fix that I still check my pockets, 6 or 7 years later. It's wild. And the thing I've kind of like started to feel myself switch over to is when you would leave the house without a mask, right? You can't go in the fucking grocery store or whatever without a mask on, and so you had to have the mask, and like that has started to kind of take over my checking of pockets for cigarettes. But I still check for cigarettes, and I still check for a mask most of the time before I go out and leave the house. And so that was one of the other kind of like weird things to me. It's like I've had dreams to where like I smoke cigarettes in them. But it was so weird to just be like, okay, I have to buy 5 packs of cigarettes, put them in my pockets, and then buy 12 pounds of ground beef because that's what you need in the middle of a date, right? It was so weird. So weird. So the last thing, God, we're cruising. So the last thing before we jump back in. Speaking of both dreams and cigarettes, if you ever smoke and try to stop, there's the nicotine patch. And I used the nicotine patch unsuccessfully like 2 or 3 times throughout my 20s as I was trying to quit smoking. That's what I used here this last time to finally kick the habit. But they say on the warning label, may have vivid dreams, and they aren't fucking joking. Like I used to wake up like sweating and in kind of like a panic because of just like the wild shit that would go on in my dreams whenever I slept with the nicotine patch on, that I just had to take them off. And that's kind of like tough for me because I like to take naps in the middle of the day, and so it's like you put a patch on, you can't take it off. You want to take a nap, you have to decide if you want to take the patch off and put a different one on, or if you just want to run the risk of having a vivid dream in the middle of the day. But that shit was wild. Some might say that the nicotine patch dreams are better than drugs, and so it was wild to have all that kind of go full circle on me. But all right, that stuff's over with. Let's get ourselves ready for these next set of battles. Hopefully, we'll have ourselves some more good games. All right, so round 4 up and upon us. We're going to be up against Aatrox Kayn Deep, which we're going to ban out. This is a fairly terrible matchup. And then elites, if you will, elites with Kale, whatever we're calling it these days. It looks like it's elites with Kale, Esmith, and Pale Cascade. And so, again, Deep, this matchup is pretty terrible for us across the board. Aatrox Kayn isn't super ideal, but since the changes at the end of the World Ender where both of the champions got nerfed, I feel a little bit better taking our mid-rangey decks into this than it would have been in the past. And so I think this is okay. Nothing too crazy going on here. It's got all of the good cards. 2 Expanses Protection, 1 Heedless Resurrection. Ooh, do have to watch out for Utter Devastation. Not a card you typically see a ton of, but all the usual actors that you would expect out of that deck. And then down here, I wanted to check on the removal spells. Got the full 3 Champion Strength, 2 Single Combats, 2 Pale Cascade, 1 Form Up. So, all right, I got you. Let's see if we can't jump on into battle. All right, and there we go. We got the Rumble family, the Rumble Harp, the Rumble Rally, Rumble Rumble in the jungle. Let's get to it. All right, so again, we're going to ban out Deep. Not want anything to do with that. He takes down our Samira deck. Okay, sounds good to me. So let's jump in with Udyr. Easy one to lead off with. I wish you could see when you're playing in the Riot opens, you can see their deck lists before the battles begin, but is what it is. Now, going up against Aatrox Kayn, let's see what we can do. And so we can get rid of the Combat Cook. Otherwise, this is a fairly reasonable start. Like, Vulpine Wander isn't super exciting, so maybe we just actually hang on to that. Like, the thing I'm kind of thinking of with this hand is the opposing deck isn't going to be super good at dealing with a Broadwing that has a regenerate attached to it. And so, like, if their only interactivity is really going to be, if it's only going to be the strike card, then I think we have some potential to get big on board and take advantage of that. And so we'll see how this shakes out. I think we can play this a little bit slower, though. Let's just go ahead and add the Vulpine Wanderer now, since we're in a spot to where we're just going to be trading with his units. And so if we take a trade with this guy, that feels a little bit better than losing a Broadwing. The Broadwing can line up a little bit better against some of the usual suspects of units that these decks will be playing. So, all right, we got a bird. Let's get another bird. Gonna be dropping a Darkened Spear on this round. Let's go ahead and get that equipped out. We can hang on to the stance swap, right? We can play Udyr next turn and play the stance for free. So I feel fairly safe in that sense. And now I'm going to go pretty all in on this thing. Like, at the end of the day, we're going to get burned if he has a the combat trick. Right, the Ionia 1-mana combat trick. This will be fairly painful, but I think we're in a good spot to kind of recover from that. Otherwise, yeah, burn spell's a problem. Oh, wow. He generated... I saw that he only had 1 mana, so I was only worried about that singular card, and I didn't really anticipate something just getting generated off of the Cultist. That's actually quite painful. But we can come back in with Udyr now. He's going to be ready to grow. He's going to be ready to get his thing going. Ew. That's nasty. So we're just definitely going to be taking a 6 hit off of the Defector. Alright, well, I'll load up Udyr with the defensive stance. So if he gets into a fight with the Cultist, we get the equipment on the way back. Now we're just going to have to wait and take some damage off of this. I think I'm okay to just take the full amount. Like, coming out of Aatrox Kayn, they're not entirely capable of just dealing damage. And so I think that feels pretty reasonable. Now we have good hooks coming in here. Our Jarvan's going to come in, hook the Defector, hopefully let us get a little bit bigger on board. Like, if he has to burn a strike on this combat, he doesn't get to add anything else. I think that feels pretty positive. Rip Udyr. But nonetheless, the things we were looking for kind of coming together. So the thing we'll kind of start to look towards now, our board, like, we don't have a ton that we can really get going here, but I'm looking to add a Naka and have a Cataclysm for next turn. And so I don't really want to invest a ton of mana into this board. I'm kind of okay with just getting the Dark and Aegis down. Looks like he just picked up Kayn, though. And so how do we feel about that? Kayn, not big enough to deal with Jarvan, but let's just pass. Like, adding these units to the board isn't the biggest of deals. Let's see how he wants to spend his plays. If he just sends it back to us, that's just a gigantic win for our side of things. So we're going to add in the Aegis, get the Giral down. Say, I see your guys. I'm going to match him with mine. Oh, shit, are we just going to die here? He lodestones. We're getting lined up to just get killed. We need to get something started. I think we have to give up on the Cataclysm. We can still add the Dark and Aegis next turn, but I'm pretty certain he's lining this up with the combat trick to try and get a kill on us. So I want to make the hook happen with Giral so that he can't play the trick in the middle of combat. Ideally, we get the takedown on the unit here. Well, that was incorrect, right? If he was going to kill us there, he would have just killed us. I don't like how we've approached this one. That's been a little sloppy. Are we willing to do this now? Just been so worried about us coming in and dying. That was a bit of a slop fest. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? If he was going to try and kill us with the combat trick, to just not right in this space right here. If he played the combat trick, then he wouldn't be able to really use it anyways. So I think that's fine, but we've been sloppy in this match. Who comes down? Ooh, the Vulpine Wanderer. not the massive unit we were particularly hoping for, because things start to look pretty bad from this point, right? He's got 10 equipment in his deck, and we only have a handful of them, and so very easy for us to get killed. All right, it's unfortunately got to be a Tiana here. Just can't do anything. We don't have enough cards in our hand. All right. I don't like that. I feel like if we'd stopped and played that a little slower and gone back and thought about that a little bit more, we would have taken that match down. I think that was poorly played. Like I'm kind of fine with the early part where we just got blown up by the card generated by the ambitious cultist. Like, what are you realistically going to be doing there anyways? But I feel like later on in that game, we got ourselves into a little bit too much trouble. Like maybe, I think it was okay even taking that massive hit of damage off of the unit. I think, I don't know. I just don't like what we ended up doing there. All right, though, up against elites. Let's mulligan this hand away. We need to find an early game unit to get down onto the board. Vulpine Wanderer ready to party. Man, as I think back on that game, I wonder if our game plan was just wrong. Like, it's such a powerful thing to be doing against Aatrox Kayn to have the Petricite Broadwing with Regenerate, and we just kind of gave up on it. Like, even having access to the Spear, you can have that 0/7 Regenerate Challenger that they don't have a great answer to, and we didn't really push towards it. I got really kind of bamboozled by that thing, but I don't know. It's We got ourselves lined up in that block to where that combat to where the Broadwing just got blown up by the invisible spell, and so it's tough. All right, though, up against elites, the thing that seems to be key for the elites deck is hitting the Battlesmith on turn 2. Curious to see if they're going to have it, and they do. So we unfortunately need to just be throwing cards away in the face of this, but I think this is okay. Like, if he has the combat trick to get out of this, we're just going to get blown out, but he's only playing 3. Okay, but at least it keeps him from playing a unit this turn. Now, if we bank our mana, oh my god, and a 1-drop? This is fucking brutal. I was going to say, if we bank our mana, we can go into the next turn and look to fish fight off of the combat cook. But I think we're just going to be too slow for that now. We're going to have to Wanderer into Cook into Udyr. We can come in and drop a stance swap at that point and hopefully recover off of that. So I'm going to pick up the Fish-a-Whack here, give us the opportunity to block some of these smaller units and have our guy survive. We can typically take some pretty hefty hits of damage out of this deck and not worry about it too much. Taking this 7 hit here isn't that bad. It would mean... So we can take 10 and fall to 8. Okay, I'm on board. We just got to do something to start building up our crew. Oh my god. Okay. I guess that's how it's going to be today. So let's see. I mean, we can still maybe get out of this. We have to draw harsh winds. That's the kind of extent of what's going on here. Just getting fucking savaged left and right at every corner of this match. And so, I mean, to a degree, you just have to say it is what it is. I'm going to pass on this turn. He can't currently kill us with the board that he has. And if he's going to pass, I don't want to give him the opportunity to put units on the board. And just straight into champion strength. Why not? Why not? What a frustrating match. So, I mean, we can add the dude, but this one's just done at this point. Alrighty, well, that's going to be our day. Man, that's I don't like to complain too much, but was just a complete savaging. It's like when you know that you have the open deck lists here and they're playing 3 combat tricks and they run into them, and then just having the blowout from our Broadwing come out of the 0 cost unit. That stuff's just ultimately kind of frustrating, and it is what it is. I guess we were complaining in the previous games that the games were wildly too close and they were getting our heart rate up too much and too much clenching of our butt cheeks, and then to just come into these games and just get absolutely annihilated by RNG was kind of frustrating. But I guess the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows, if you will, in terms of what's coming at you and whatnot. And so that was painful. And so I don't know. It's like I wanting to keep cycling back to that Aatrox Kane game, and it's so tough to have the card come at you, just be a blind card generated off of the guy, and there's like literally 3 cards in the game that could have been generated in that spot to cause that kind of outcome. Well, I guess you can pick, there would be 4, right? You need something that does 2 damage. You can get the violent outburst that he got. You can get the +2/+2 combat trick. You can get Mystic Shatter. You can get High Note. Nothing else really fits in that space. And so, like, is it really worth playing around the 4 of like 30 or 40 cards that guy can generate? And probably not. I don't know. Maybe that's what separates the people that are able to get to the top as compared to what we're doing, as to where I look at that space and say, like, okay, the only card that we can realistically play around is going to be the 1-mana combat trick that gives you those 2 stats. And even those 2 stats aren't going to be enough for him to completely get out of the combat, right? If you're looking at the combat trick, he can either give his unit +2 attack, which is going to kill our unit and we're going to get a trade, or he can give it the +2 health in which our unit's going to survive, and then we can follow up and continue on with that guy on the board. There's just that very limited handful of cards that actually give you that spot to where it does basically both ends, the +2/+2. As you're dealing the damage, it reduces the damage on our formidable and also reduces its health, and so it hits it in both directions. And so when you hear like Ruben Zoo talk about the aspects of these RNG and how do you deal with yourself in a format as to where so much RNG exists, like moving from the Bandle City cards that can generate everything, and then this came out as his advice as the Seraphine meta was running around, and that there are too many cards for you to have to think about everything and play around everything, and so you just pick the card that would be the worst one for you in that situation and choose to play around it that way. And so using that line of thought, we would say to ourselves, okay, well, this unit is capable of getting that ultimate blowout on us. We could probably just take this 4 damage, whatever it is, ignore any of these other possibilities. But like to me, when I look at a situation like that, I see it as he's attacking with a unit that's safe into ours, right? He's attacking with a 4/6 into a 0/5 formidable. He gets a lot of bonuses out of taking our formidable down to a 0/1 because all of its attack power is just removed. And so that is one of those spots to where he's capable of attacking and getting an advantage, even though it looks like the units are just going to bounce. And so it's not like we're in a spot to where he's only attacking because he has to have a magical combat trick behind. He has a lot of value in his attack regardless of the cards that he has in hand. And so you can't just look at it and say, well, he's got something obnoxious here because this attack isn't very good. That's kind of off of the table. And so I don't know how many 2-cost spells are in the game, but what's the chance that he hits one of those good ones? Is it like 10%? Or are we supposed to play around like the 10% blowouts that we run into in that space? Like I'm not entirely certain, but there is something that separates the players that are in the kind of mid tiers of Masters where we're hanging out to those people that are up on the front page of the ladder and taking down the tournaments and everything. Spots like that are where those people are able to navigate it and just deal with it to ultimate efficiency, as to where I'm not able to figure it out. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious what the consensus is on that space there, as to where it's just such a brutal blowout from such a small percentage play that you just get completely annihilated. And then rolling into the next game and having the same thing happen. You're playing against the deck that has 3 combat tricks in it, and they have the one on the one initially, which is kind of whatever, you had one, you got it, and then just having the next one at the most opportune time. Shit's just kind of frustrating as hell when you're running with a mediocre draw into it. But that's the role we live. That's the battles we sign up for. We just have to learn from it, move on, see if we can't improve a little bit and do better next time. And so, fun set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope we maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.